when I'm casting this movie, it's not just the best actor for it. It's what energy do I want? Because bad energy can ruin, and all crew members, like it can ruin everything. And so I think Chris was like, I need to have good vibes on this set. And it doesn't mean that it can't have eccentric people. I'm eccentric. But it's just, he brought together like a lovely group of people. And now I feel like I've known Eben and Jeremy for so long. I didn't know any of them before. But it's just because like he knew we would all connect.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Molly Gordon is an actor. She sat down with me in New York City to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin, like when you get a new role? Do you have a typical first step that you take to kind of wrap your arms around this new person that you have to play?
I mean, it's so dark to say this, but I just had a meeting with someone where they went, have you read the script? And I was like, yes. So I would say number one is read the material a couple times. Yeah. I think it's sad to say that, but I think, you know, there's that episode of Entourage where they just can't get him to read the script. And I think, unfortunately, for me, it's just, I have to like really be inside of the material and then kind of break it down. I start like taking notes about the character. And then for me, if it's always about the first conversations with the director. And I think now that I have directed, I feel all I want to do is be in service of the director's vision and make it easier for them. You know, I now feel like in such a deeper way, I understand how hard it is to make a film. And so I want to bring my own energy and, you know, my flair to the project, but also I want to kind of understand what is the vibe that they want to bring with this film. What are they trying to put out into the world, and how can I help, and what can I bring to that? So a lot of conversations and notes, and then reading the material a lot. I think a lot of people just kind of throw that away, but I really like to get inside of it.
It's interesting that directing has made you feel more, compassion's the wrong word, but
yeah, for sure.
You know, for the director, right? But when you direct actors, then you know what they need, right?
Totally.
And you're giving them what they need because you're in that position wanting that from a director. Yeah. Like, does it also feed that part too?
Totally. I think Greta Gerwig has said that she, as an actor, that was like her film school, and she's now has a toolbox of all the good and bad experiences that she's had. And I think Mike Mills does name tags, so she took that. You figure out what is the thing for you. I think working with Chris Storer on The Bear, and I worked with him on Rami many years ago, he creates this energy on set where he takes every single person so seriously. It doesn't matter at what level, he makes them feel like they're the most important person on set. And the crew is so happy to be there, and they all feel like they're in service of this project, not just like that they're at the job and no one really cares what they have to add. It's like, no, everyone is working towards this vision. And I think I've learned that's how I want to be, and that works, and that just creates a better environment for everyone. It's like, it's not just about number one, it's about everyone. And I mean, I've had direction. We were just discussing, like, you know, how you talk to actors, and sometimes directors can confuse you, or, you know, they can bring their own shit into it. And I think just being very clear with your direction, and also less is more, not in a sense of you. For me, I never understand when an actor is like, he just let me do what I wanted, or she just let me do what I wanted and got out of my way. I crave direction, but I think it should be very clear and digestible and thought-provoking, and help you kind of stir something up in yourself, and you kind of meet in the middle. But that's been, as an actor, I've gotten to witness so many different ways to be directed, and I'm sure I'm going to fuck up, and then some actor will be like, I'm not going to do that when I direct. So,
Yeah. So you started out, I mean, you've been acting since you were tiny, right?
Not professionally, but I've been doing it for fun since I was tiny.
I see. So were there things though that you had to like discard, or habits that you had to get rid of because you've been like doing it for fun even for so long? Well, I guess because you haven't been doing it professionally.
Totally. I'm really lucky that
kept away from that kind of stuff.
I didn't do it until I was 18. And then I didn't get a job till I was 21, truly. I mean, I got half jobs. So but there have been so many things I've had to change and learn and grow from, and every project totally changes me and shifts me. But I think not taking everything so personally, I think there's just stuff about the business of like, this is so not about me. No one's going to remember this bad audition. Move forward. Every obstacle's an opportunity. Every closed door might lead to another door. Have multiple plates spinning, like have a life outside of acting, which was, I was lucky that I always loved writing and other things. But I think it's just being an actor is hard because you have to wait around for someone to tell you to be creative. Right. And like, what's your day when you're waiting for that? Right. And I think I had to quickly be like, oh, this doesn't work for me. I need to have a very full life of other things, because I don't want to just sit around and have someone go, well, now you can act.
Right.
Because that's going to come around every 5 years. That's not going to come around all the time. Yeah. Right.
So I'm so egotistical, narcissistic, or I think maybe it's just full of myself that when I like an actor, I want to say, hey, you're in the club. I like you. Yeah. That's amazing. You realize how amazing that is, that I like you? But when it's comedy, though, that's much more rare. They're on the shelf. I want to give them like a star. You get the star. I'm starting to realize it's like a frequency. Mm-hmm. Like very few things nowadays actually make me legitimately laugh. There is a tone and I guess there's a very small shelf life. This is my big prelude to just say that you are in that frequency. You've been in that. Like I'm trying to think, of course, Shiva Baby is when I was like, oh, it's that girl from those other things. There, she's back again. Booksmart, Good Boys. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing that with my wife. That was like the year where the movie pass year, where I was going to see everything. And normally a movie I wouldn't have seen. Yeah. But like very thankful, that I saw that. Anyway, this is my big thing to say. You hit the frequency that works for me for some reason, comedy-wise. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just know how your comedy sense developed. What worked for you? What didn't? And I know like things like The Groundlings was informative for you. But I'm just curious how that developed to the point like a snobbish person like me is, oh, that girl, she's working for it. Like, I seeked you out. Like if you're in something, I'm like, oh my God, I know that's at least going to be funny there.
That means a lot. And I'm to have one person seeking me to have a crowd of one. I really appreciate that. No, but that means because that's how high you are on the bar. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take it back to my parenting with my children. No, my parents, I'm an only child. They would bring me into conversations that maybe I shouldn't be in at a younger age, and I would have a seat at the table of, what a weird day at work, da-da-da-da happened. And my parents would have a funny spin on it and kind of find the humor in it. And I felt like I just grew up in this very, playful household. Yeah. And I think I obviously in my normal life use comedy or humor to like disarm people or to like protect my own self-loathing. Like that's who I am, and that's what's helped me in my life. And I love to pierce through the kind of darker exterior of someone and like make them smile. It's like I get off on that. So that's who I am as a human. And then I think I've always the comedy I've been inspired by is just like salt of the earth, grounded, like I'm just not into, I love to consume it. I'd love to be in it one day, but as a me putting out into the world, I don't think I would make something that campy. Like, I think I just love real life things, and I feel like from my work as a kid doing Groundlings and like doing UCB and all this stuff, I just love improv, and I'm so comfortable in that space. I'm way more comfortable if you were like, let's just improvise this whole scene. Like, I just feel that's I would love to make a movie that's an improvised drama. Like, I just love my favorite moments on Good Boys and Life of the Party and Booksmart, you know, Shiva, was when they were like, just, this is a play take, like the last 10 minutes, like just go. And then they end up using a lot of that. And that's because like they've created really strict boundaries of, okay, this is what the scene's about, this is what you have to hit. But it's not until you have the performer in front of you and you actually get to have those moments of realism that is the best. And I think the best directors I've worked with have also been like, you fucked up in the scene, like you fucked up the line, keep going, like make it into something. Cause I've learned that from my family, like just use it. And I think Shiva, I feel like, was the first time I ever got to use that, not cause it's a comedy, but it's also like that movie is a very complex other thing. And I think when Rachel and I got together and shot that first scene together, it was just electric, and the scene kind of took on this other thing, and then we started improvising about her coming to the Shiva, like just for the food and all this stuff. And Emma created this space where our characters were we can only do that because our characters are so clear, our wants are so clear, then we can play. And I just love working with filmmakers where they are like, I really want this, you have to say this line, but like, let's play here. I think that's the best, like having both of those things. Like, I don't want to work with someone that's like, do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah.
When things start happening and people are appreciating your talent, were you starting to develop like an approach to auditions at this time? And this is pre-pandemic, right? And it's not so much self-tape all the time. And how has that changed now, where your established people really respect you and on both sides of the camera, and then going into auditions now or putting yourself on tape now, and how has that changed?
Yeah, well, I think I was just telling Jenny I had my first in-person audition for four, I think it's been 4 years, yesterday, and I am still buzzing from the like
just being with people,
being around people, and also like having a full body. Like I'm not just the top of my body. What do I do with my feet? But being fully honest, like it hasn't really changed. Like I'm still nervous. I think you're always going in with the blank slate. I wish that it was different, but I psych myself out. I'm not the best auditioner. I think all I hope now is that my other work shows what I can do. But I think it's hard to be like, especially on Zoom, be like, you know, do your best work. Your mom is dying in the scene. Go. And it's like, what the hell? And you hear their kids screaming in the background of the Zoom, and you're like, I don't know if I'm a good enough actor for this. But I definitely feel like I'm getting a seat at the table to audition for things that I've wished to, and like I might not get them, but I feel like it was more of a fight before, and it's still a fight to get, you know, to put myself in the ring, throw myself in the ring for some things. But yeah, and then on the like filmmaking side, I've wanted to make movies for so long, and I feel like now might be a little bit easier to get my next movie made, and I'm hopeful to make it either this fall or in the spring. But also it's such a wacky time in our business, and I'm a glass half empty person, and everyone in my life is like, this is actually like a good moment, you know, feel excited. But it's just scary when I've seen so many people that are so talented not get cast, or their movies fall apart on, 2 weeks before. Like theater camp, we almost didn't make it because the financing fell out 2 weeks before. So I just kind of feel like I don't want to let myself fully believe that like, and you kind of meet people that are so successful and they're still like, when's my next job? It's just hard when you're freelance, but no, the confidence hasn't changed. I wish I could go, speaking of Good Boys, the reason I really wanted to make theater camp was I loved working with those kids so much because they were so free. They could take any note. They were so uninhibited. And I was like, oh, I want to get back to that lack of self-consciousness that I had as a kid. I feel like I was my best at like 6. And I was doing all of these plays and I was like so like Elaine Stritch, just like living my life. And now I'm much more like, oh God, did they not like that? Da, 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 da. Yeah. And so it's always trying to get back to that. And people always say, don't work with children. And I actually think they're like the best actors out there if they want to be there, obviously. I think they're
inspiring you and
yeah, I learned so much from the children on theater camp. The first day, one of the kids, Alex Bello, came up to me and he was like, Molly, who is your dream distributor for this film? A 10-year-old said that to me. And I was like, wow, we haven't even made it. So I hope that anyone buys it, Alex.
Were you always interested in the other side of the camera throughout all this time?
Yeah. There are like 5 female directors, so I just never kind of fully allowed myself to dream that. And it wasn't until working on Shiva Baby, and Emma's my age, and watching her just do it and not wait for someone to give her the opportunity. She, they found the financing, $250,000. It was all young people. It was like a shot of like joy doing that project and electricity and all this stuff. And I was just talking to Emma and Rachel, and when they met me on that movie, they were like, we were so nervous, like you were this actress, you had been in Booksmart. And I was like, I literally I had like 2 jobs. And they're like, and you were doing our movie. And now I go to them for advice. I'm like, what do I do about this project? Emma, how do I handle this pitch? Da 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 da. And it's like been beautiful to all get to kind of have this role reversal and also all help each other. Like this job is so isolating and I feel so lucky. Like Emma and I were just texting about a pitch this morning. Like I can text her, call her whenever she like can do a practice pitch for me. I'm like, that's the best, because I think there just aren't that many still. I know there's been, the guild numbers are getting a little higher, but there's still, it was a crazy percentage the last time that I looked, of women directors.
Yeah, it's insane. When you were actually making theater camp and realizing, okay, this is my time to actually control this and like give these actors, many of them very young, what they need, was there something that made you realize like, this is what I wanted to have as an actor, like this kind of environment? And then now that you are back to acting again, is it hard to like go on environments that aren't exactly suited for actors? And like, does it make you want to speak up more, having been at the helm of something?
Well, I think on theater camp, I wanted it to feel like this sandbox of play for a lot of the people in the movie are my friends, where they could come in for a couple days and get to have ownership of their characters, because there's just such a lack of control as an actor. And so I hope that we succeeded in that, where Patty and Io and everyone could come and just be like, what do I kind of want to bring? What is coming out of me today? And that's not going to be on every project I direct, but for that one specifically, I just wanted it to feel like a theater troupe, and we would all watch. It was the best moment of it was like, I think Io was doing an improv with the kids, and we were all watching the monitor, all of the friends, and like the crew, because it was all improvised, was all watching it like a live theater performance, because they had never seen it before. Usually the crew is like, all right, like the 20th take, like not paying attention, but they were all watching it because they were like, what's going to happen? And that kind of like excitement I want to bring to everything, even if it's not improvised. And then I mean, I'll only speak up if I feel like something is fucked up.
Yeah.
But I think, to be honest, if you've made a film, I'm like, I tip my hat to you.
Yeah.
And I just want, so many actors or people can be difficult for no reason. And I just want to come in and like bring good energy. And that doesn't mean that I can't ask for what I want. That doesn't mean that, I've also realized, like, as I've, continued in my career, like, asking for what I want is not being difficult.
Yeah.
And now that I've been on the receiving end of that, when an actor would come to me and be like, hey, this would make me feel more comfortable, I would never be like, what the hell are you saying?
Yeah.
So, but I've been lucky. The jobs I've gone back to are the bare.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm about to do another acting job, and I think it's gonna be with lovely people too. But what Chris has created, we all say, like, has ruined all of us.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I get to go back to this dream space that's not real.
And what is it about that? Because I've heard this. It's like a perfect place for actors.
Yeah. Well, I think they talk about hospitality on the show. They are like, well, if we're making a show about hospitality, why would the set not be about hospitality? So, like, there's food, there's coffee, not just for the actors, for crew. Like, I don't know, it's truly Chris. Like, he's just a magic person. And I don't know, he's such a great example of, like, kindness and good energy, like, can be efficient. We shoot in like 2 seconds. It's like we do like 2 takes.
Wow.
But he's also really clear and like strong, and I don't know, it's been, and he's been working with the same crew for so long. That's something I really am like, I want to find, is that like protection around you, because I feel like that also allows you to go faster. Yeah.
I don't know why, but it doesn't seem like, maybe I'm wrong about this, it doesn't seem like there's like strict like markers or something. It feels like it's just captured. Yeah,
there's no marks.
Yeah.
Which is, we didn't do on Theater Camp too, because we were shooting 360, and they did the same thing on The Bear. But also Chris just like knew Io from working on an Apple show. I knew Chris from Rami. Chris and Jeremy had known each other for so long. Like, he knows. I think a big thing I didn't think about beforehand was, like, when I'm casting this movie, it's not just the best actor for it. It's what energy do I want? Because bad energy can ruin, and all crew members, like, it can ruin everything. Yes. And so I think Chris was like, I need to have good vibes on this set. And it doesn't mean that it can't have eccentric people. I'm eccentric. Yeah. But it's just, he brought together like a lovely group of people. And now I feel like I've known Eben and Jeremy for so long. I didn't know any of them before. But it's just because, like, he knew we would all connect.
There wasn't like a chemistry read.
No.
So when you go in and it have to be Jeremy's love interest, because there's this worry that you guys were going to create the proper sparks that needed to happen. Yeah. And so when did that worry go away? Because you did it.
I don't know. Well, first, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on anything, but so I found out that there was like a role casting on the show, and I was like, oh my God, I wonder what it is. And then they were like, it's a doctor. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that it was so secretive. Yeah. And then they're like, there's this role, it's Claire, you're going to play it. And then I got sent all the scripts. I didn't even know that it was Jeremy's love interest. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Not because of the love interest element, I just think he's such a fucking good actor that I was like, shit, I have to match his level. I think I just trusted Chris, where I knew he would not cast people that weren't meant to dance around each other. Yeah. And then the minute that we shot that scene in the market, it was like, he is such a, you were talking about like my approach. Yeah. I like connect. I'm all about like listening, curiosity, this. A lot of actors are like, me, like not really looking at you. And Jeremy, it was so about like locking in. And so it just felt so right immediately. And I think the butterflies of like not knowing him also aided in the scene. And then
it's a good first scene to do, I guess.
But I was nervous, and the camera's so close, and you know, it's a whole situation. But I trusted Chris, and also I had done Rami, and you know, Chris, I had also not auditioned for that, and Rami and I had such a nice. I think Chris just knows who's gonna like flow. I don't think like a chemistry read would have. I just think auditions for some things are fantastic, and I think for this, like, again, most of the people he casted off of vibes. I think he just knew that. But of course, I was nervous, and I'm still nervous, and I just shot the next season, and I was always nervous just because of the level of. But Jeremy's nervous. I was. It's like it's a good. It's a good show, so you just want to be good.
It's probably a good thing that you're nervous, right?
Yeah.
If you're not nervous, maybe that's a bad sign.
Also, he only does 2 takes, so you never go home and are like, nailed that. You're like, he wants you to feel like it's this like, I just ran into this person. The moment got away from me. Like, but Jeremy and I are also very different. Like, he's more quiet. Can't stop fucking talking. Like, I just think we like, I don't know, it felt kind of like familiar to me of like people I've grown up with that are like, shut the fuck up, Molly, but I love you.
Are you at a point now where, because you have experience on the other side of the camera, but not just because of that you maybe might feel okay like speaking up about where this goes with your character and want to be involved with that? And is there a place for that kind of involvement?
Yeah, Chris really was open to that being a conversation. And, you know, there is some improv this year that we found on set that was something surprising that just happened in the moment, and Chris and all of us went with it, and he was, he's not scared of people's opinions. A lot of directors are like, he'll just be like, oh, I don't like that, or that's really interesting. I'm not a girl in her 20s that is going through a breakup, so can you? Yeah. I've never been a girl in my 20s going through a breakup. So can I hear your perspective on this? And I'm like, I have a lot of perspectives. I've gone through a couple. So we can talk about it. Jeremy brings his in, Like, I feel like he was open to that. So that was beautiful. But I also like, there are some scripts on the show that you're just like, I wouldn't touch this. I wouldn't even begin to.
Right. Especially when it's loved the way it's loved. Like, totally. You're like, you don't want to, that's probably another reason to be nervous, right? Yeah. Because it's so beloved.
Totally. The show is led by Chris, but it's also like Maddie Matheson and Coco, his sister, and like all the people's hands. And it just has like the handprints of all the people's involvements in it. And that's what makes it so beautiful. It is this like collaboration. And all the actors bring so much to it. And like, are these people like, I don't know, Chris is just so like, I wrote it, but then you're bringing this and da-da-da-da. Like but also, it's hard to, he is a genius. So it's like, cool for him. Yeah.
You know, you're a glass half empty person, but let me just look at the half full part for a second. Yeah. I just heard about small parts. This is something you're developing in a film. You're going to leave here and you get to, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm imagining you're in a writing phase maybe. And I'm in a writing phase too, right? But there is such a dark hole, right? to my writing, where it's like, I don't know if anyone's ever going to, never mind make this. Yeah. Anyone's ever going to read it, because it's hard to get somebody to read something. At least there's this total excitement about your mind, right? And what you come up with. And I just want you to talk about being not just an actor, not just a director, but a writer, and being in this spot right now where
people are actually responding to your creativity on many different levels.
Yeah.
And you're gaming the system. And can we be optimistic for a moment?
No, I mean, I feel so lucky. Like, you do feel like when you're writing can either feel like you're flying or like, will anyone see this? And this is the worst piece of shit in the entire world, and I'm so lost in this. And yeah, I feel really lucky that people are open to reading my material right now and reading my mania. But it's such a great example. I mean, I'm setting the movie that I might make next is a movie that was rejected like 3 years ago, and now, or maybe 4, and now someone was like, I love this. And like, it's just like, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
Like, just keep going.
Yeah.
This has been such a great example of like timing and things like, you know, I had to prove myself, and then people can be more trusting of taking a chance on more wild material. Like, I think, but I'm writing a couple things right now, and I'm loving it because I'm not in such a self-judgment chapter. And I think it's when you feel that you want to like bottle it, because you're like, how can I keep this for like the next 2 months to finish this draft, because I don't want to start hating this product and feeling that it's bad. But I'm in such a groove with it, and my work is trying to figure out how to keep this, because if you talk to any director, any writer, they're like, I turned on this, I hated this, I thought it like it's so, I felt like a failure. Like, it's not like you make something that gets a good review and you're like, great, now everything is great. It's like, then you have to go make another thing. And you see how many things could go wrong to make the thing bad, and how many ways you could fuck up and all these things. But I'm loving writing right now. And I feel like I learned so much on theater camp. And I've learned so much in the last few years about myself, about what I want to put out into the world. Like, it's such a horrible moment. I think, you know, I think a lot about like that I'm thought of as this like more comedic person, and I have sometimes been like, well, I'm all these other parts of I'm complicated, and I'm actually like, wait, anything that I do is going to be funny. Like, even if it's a drama, it's gonna have humor, like, because that's the lens that I want to explore things through. And now I feel way more comfortable in that, rather than, which I used to feel when people would ask me in a setting like this, being like, oh, but are you interested in dramas? Like, you seem to only do comedies. And it's like, well, I don't really choose. It just is like, who will hire me? Yeah.
Is there a drawer somewhere, maybe not a literal drawer, maybe it's a drawer in your mind, where you have something that you would really, in an ideal world, want to make and want to be in? Is there that something? What is that thing that you would... That I would...
There's so many. I have so many in this drawer. The drawer is large. It's a Mary Poppins drawer. But honestly, like, small parts, I can tease a bit, is like more of a accidental heist movie. And I think maybe you wouldn't think of me making something in like a mob world or something, but I'm really excited about that movie, and excited, you know, to take on something that might be seen a little bit from a male gaze more, and I'm really excited about that. But I have like you know, some darker psychological thriller horror kind of thing. You know, it's more different, leaving the comedy space and kind of being like, maybe I want to make something like this that feels a little like scary to me still. But I just want to keep making movies. I don't want to feel like I have to make a movie every year, because and Emma and I talk about this a lot. Like, I couldn't have made a movie last summer. Like, I needed to take a second. And then re-emerge. But I really just want to look back on my life and be like, I've made a bunch of movies. I didn't get put in director jail. Like, and even my favorite filmmakers, like, I was just reading the Mike Nichols biography, and it's even like, he's put in director jail and he like crawls out, and all these other things emerge. So also I maybe shouldn't be as scared about that, because it's like, sometimes then an amazing other chapter
Right.
can come. But I think I was looking at a quote of his where he's like, every movie changes you and like you're birthed anew. And I'm like, yeah, like I feel so changed by theater camp. So I'm more like, what am I going to feel after the next movie I make?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll want to make maybe the drawer will be burned because I have a totally other view on life. I don't know.
Molly Gordon, you make everything better. I mean that. And I like a lot of actors, but I can't say that for everyone. And I want you to come back on the show.
So sweet. Thank you. I would love to be on the show again.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.